The invitation, a life-changing story. The silence in my apartment was a familiar companion. It wasn't the empty silence of loneliness, but the peaceful, earned quiet of a long day concluded. I was rinsing my dinner plate, a simple salad, when my phone lit up on the counter, vibrating with an insistent buzz. The screen glowed with my son's name. Marcus. A smile touched my lips. At 30, he was a man with his own life, his own home, his own worries. Every call was a small gift. "Marcus, honey, how are you?" I said, cradling the phone between my shoulder and ear as I dried my hands. "Mom." His voice was tight, strained. It was the same tone he'd used as a teenager when he dented the fender of my old sedan. "I need to ask you a favor." "Of course. Anything." I moved to my living room, settling into my favorite armchair. Its cushions molded perfectly to my shape after 15 years of use. "Simon's parents are here. They flew in from Switzerland last night. It's their first time visiting." He paused, and I could almost hear him choosing his words with surgical precision. "They want to meet you. We're having dinner on Saturday at a restaurant." The Bellarive? I knew of the Bellarive. Everyone did. It was less a restaurant and more a citadel of exclusivity. A place where the menu was a whispered secret and the prices were a closely guarded mystery. A place I would never normally choose, nor need to. "I see," I said, my voice neutral. "There's just..." He hesitated again, a dam of unspoken words about to break. "I told them a bit about you, that you work in an office, that you live alone, that you're simple, that you don't have much." The word landed like a lead weight. Simple. It was meant to be kind, an apology in advance, but it felt like a diminishment, a reduction of my entire existence into a single, pitiable adjective. I was a problem he had to manage, a potential embarrassment to be I took a slow, deep breath, my eyes scanning my living room. The furniture was sturdy but dated, bought on a secretary's salary 2 decades ago. The art on the walls were prints from a museum gift shop. Everything was clean, comfortable, and utterly unimpressive. It was the home of a woman who had never needed to prove anything to anyone. And in that moment, a plan, cold and clear, crystallized in my mind. If my son saw me as a simple, broke woman, and if these people were coming with judgment in their eyes, I would give them exactly what they expected. I would become their caricature. I would be the poor, naive mother, a woman barely scraping by. I wanted to look into the eyes of wealth and see its true face. I needed to know how they would treat someone they believed had nothing. "Okay, Marcus," I said, my voice softening into the gentle, slightly weary tone he would expect. "I'll be there." "Thanks, Mom. I knew you'd understand." "Saturday, 7 p.m. I'll text you the address." We hung up. I sat in the deepening twilight. The only sound, the soft hum of the refrigerator. I felt a strange cocktail of emotions, a thrill of anticipation, a pang of sadness for my son's discomfort, and a cold, steely resolve. This was not just a dinner. It was a reconnaissance mission into the heart of my son's new family. And I, Elara Sterling, was going in undercover. Saturday arrived, heavy with purpose. I stood before my closet, not in my usual efficient manner of selecting a comfortable outfit, but as a curator selecting a costume. I bypassed the few tailored pieces I kept for corporate functions, my fingers instead brushing against the forgotten items at the back. I chose a dress the color of faded concrete, a shapeless, knee-length shift made from a synthetic blend that clung in all the wrong places. It was perpetually wrinkled, no matter how much I ironed it. I paired it with a pair of scuffed, low-heeled pumps whose soles were worn thin. I owned no flashy jewelry. But for this performance, I made a point of wearing a string of plastic beads my son had made for me. In kindergarten, a sweet sentiment turned into a prop of calculated poverty. I pulled my silvering hair back into a loose, messy bun, securing it with a plain black band. I applied no makeup, letting the fine lines and age spots on my face speak for themselves. Finally, I reached for my handbag, not one of the elegant leather totes I used for work, but a faded canvas tote bag, its fabric thinning at the corners, a gift from a long-ago bank promotion. I looked in the full-length mirror. The reflection was perfect. I looked like a woman life had passed by, a woman who had been worn down by years of quiet struggle. I looked forgettable. I looked simple. A taxi took me across town, from my modest, unassuming neighborhood to the glittering epicenter of the city's wealth. The Belle Rive stood like a temple, its facade illuminated by soft, golden lights. A doorman in immaculate white gloves and a tailcoat stood sentry, his expression one of benign condescension. I paid the driver with crumpled bills from my old leather wallet and stepped out onto the pavement, my posture subtly shifting into a slight hunch, my steps becoming shorter, more tentative. I was no longer Elara Sterling, regional director of operations for a global conglomerate. I was Elara, Marcus's mom, overwhelmed and out of her depth. The doorman's eyes swept over me, a flicker of assessment so quick I would have missed it if I weren't looking for it. He gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod and opened the door. The interior was a symphony of muted opulence. The air smelled of lemon polish, expensive perfume, and money. The lighting was low, catching the gleam of crystal glasses and the sheen of polished mahogany. The murmur of conversation was a low, cultured hum. And then I saw them. A tableau of perfection, at a prime table, by the floor-to-ceiling windows. Marcus stood, looking handsome and anxious in a dark, well-cut suit. Beside him was Simone, my daughter-in-law. She was a beautiful woman. There was no denying it. Tonight, she was poured into a sheath dress of cream silk, her blonde hair a sleek, shining curtain. But her smile was tight, her eyes darting towards the entrance with a nervous energy. And then there were her parents. They were already seated, holding court. Veronica, Simone's mother, was a vision of calculated elegance. Her emerald green dress was undoubtedly designer, hugging a figure maintained by personal trainers and disciplined eating. Diamonds real and substantial sparkled at her ears, throat, and wrists. Her dark hair was swept into a severe, perfect sheen. Her husband, Franklin, was her counterpart in gray flannel and silk. A watch that cost more than my first car glinted on his wrist. They exuded an aura of settled, unassailable wealth. They weren't just rich, they were fortified. Marcus spotted me. His eyes widened, and a wave of pure panic crossed his face. He hurried over, his steps quick and nervous. "Mom," he hissed, his voice low. You came." "Of course, I did, sweetheart. You invited me." I gave him a small, timid smile. He looked me up and down, his expression a mixture of pity and horror. He took my arm, his grip a little too tight, and guided me to the table as if escorting a fragile, potentially explosive object. Simone rose and offered me a cold, perfunctory kiss on the cheek. "Mother-in-law, so glad you could make it." Her eyes said the opposite. They were screaming. She turned to her parents, her voice taking on a placating, slightly apologetic tone. Mamang, Papa, this is Marcus's mother, Ilara. Veronica's gaze lifted from her menu. It was a slow, deliberate motion. Her eyes, a cool, assessing blue, traveled from my worn-out shoes, up the wrinkled dress, to my unadorned face and messy bun. The assessment was thorough, merciless, and concluded in a fraction of a second. She did not smile. She extended a hand, her fingers limp and cold. "A pleasure," she said, the words devoid of any meaning. Franklin followed suit, his handshake slightly firmer, but just as brief. "Charmed," he murmured, not meeting my eyes. I was directed to the seat at the foot of the table, the one farthest from them. No one pulled out my chair. I was already in my place, both literally and metaphorically. The waiter appeared, a silent, graceful presence. He handed us menus heavy, leather-bound folios, the text inside in elegant, flowing French. No prices were listed. That privilege was reserved for the host, presumably Franklin. I opened mine and let my face fall into a mask of confusion. I furrowed my brow, my lips moving slightly as I pretended to sound out the words. Veronica watched me over the top of her menu. A small, condescending smile played on her lips. "The menu can be a bit daunting if one isn't familiar with the language," she said, her tone sweetly poisonous. "Would you like some assistance, Elara?" "Oh yes, please," I gushed, my voice a little too loud, a little too grateful. I don't know what any of these words mean. It all sounds so fancy. She sighed, a soft, put-upon sound. "Of course. Let me order for you. We'll get you something simple. Something that won't be too overwhelming or expensive." She added the last word with a meaningful glance at Franklin, who gave a slight, approving nod. The trap was being set, course by course. The waiter took our orders. Veronica and Franklin commanded the process, discussing the merits of various wines with the Sumaya. In a display of practiced expertise, they ordered for Simone and Marcus as well, a subtle assertion of control. When it was my turn, Veronica spoke for me. "The poulet rati for the lady, and a glass of your house white. I think that will be more than sufficient." The message was clear. I was to be kept in my place, both culinarily and financially. As we waited for the food, Veronica began the real performance. She spoke of their travels, their acquisitions, their social circle. It was a masterclass in conversational one-upmanship, disguised as casual chat. The flight was interminable. "Of course," she began, adjusting a diamond bracelet, "but one must endure. We're staying at the Pendragon Suites, 1,000 a night, but the service is impeccable." Franklin chimed in. "We rented a Mercedes as can't be driving around in just anything." I nodded, my eyes wide. "Oh, my. That sounds lovely. We did a little shopping today," Veronica continued, watching me for a reaction. "Just a few things. A handbag for Simone, a watch for Franklin. Nothing major, just a few $1,000s. I simply nodded again. "How nice for you." She seemed almost disappointed by my lack of all. She leaned forward slightly. "You know, Elara, we've always been very intentional with our money. We worked hard, we invested wisely. Now we have properties in Geneva, London, and New York. Franklin's businesses are thriving, and I oversee our investment portfolio." She was building her fortress, brick by golden brick. "And you," she said, her tone shifting to one of gentle inquiry. What exactly is it you do in your office? I work in an office, I repeated, my voice soft. I do a little bit of everything. Filing, paperwork, answering phones. Simple things. Veronica exchanged a look with Franklin. It was a look I knew well from boardrooms, the look of dismissal. Ah, she said, the sound dripping with faux sympathy. Administrative work, that's fine. It's honest. All jobs are dignified, right? Of course, I replied, lowering my gaze to my lap. The food arrived. The portions were minuscule, arranged on the plates with architectural precision. My simple roasted chicken looked lonely and small. Veronica cut into her Wagyu steak, which had cost $80. This is sublime, she announced. One simply must pay for quality. One can't just eat anything. She let her gaze drift pointedly to my plate. I took a small, timid bite. It's very good. Marcus tried valiantly to steer the conversation to safer waters, his work, a recent movie, anything. But Veronica was a heat-seeking missile locked onto her target. Me? She turned to me again, her expression morphing into one of maternal concern. Elara, Marcus tells us you live alone. It must be so difficult, isn't it? At your age, without much support, does your salary cover everything? The rent, the bills. The question was a scalpel, designed to dissect my financial vulnerability. I manage, I whispered, twisting my napkin in my lap. I save where I can. I don't need much. Veronica sighed dramatically. Oh, you are so brave, truly. I admire women who struggle alone. She paused, letting the backhanded compliment hang in the air. Although, of course, one always wishes to give our children more, to give them a better life. But oh well, everyone gives what they can. The blow landed with precision, she was telling me, and everyone at the table, that I had not been enough for my son, that my love, my sacrifices, were insufficient because they weren't monetized. I simply nodded, my face a mask of meek acceptance. Yes, you're right, everyone gives what they can. The main course was cleared, and dessert menus were presented. Veronica ordered the most extravagant option, a chocolate sphere adorned with edible gold leaf, $30. She informed the table, but worth every penny for the experience. You see those golden flakes? Ilara, that's a detail only the best establishments offer. I ordered the sorbet, the cheapest thing on the menu. As we picked at our desserts, Veronica's demeanor shifted again. She placed her fork down with a soft click and folded her hands, her expression turning serious, falsely solemn. Elara, she began, her voice taking on a confidential tone. I think it's important that we speak frankly, as family, now that we are all together. Marcus stiffened. Mom, I don't think this is the Veronica raised a hand, cutting him off. Please, Marcus, this is important. She turned her cool gaze back to me. We love Marcus. He is our son-in-law, and we respect Simone's choice. But as parents, we always want the best for our children. We want them to have stability, financial stability, emotional stability. I remained silent, letting her talk. This was the climax I had been waiting for. We have helped them a great deal, she continued. The down payment on their house, their honeymoon in the Maldives. We believe in supporting our children. She paused, her eyes locking with mine. But we also believe it's important that Marcus doesn't have unnecessary burdens. The word hung in the air, Toxic and heavy. Burdens. Burdens, I asked softly. Veronica had the decency to look slightly uncomfortable, but she pressed on. I don't wish to sound harsh, Elara, but at your age, living alone on a limited salary, it's natural for Marcus to worry about you, to feel he must take care of you, and that's fine. He's a good son, but we don't want that worry to affect his marriage. Do you understand? I nodded slowly. Perfectly. A smile of relief touched her lips. Good. I'm glad you're being reasonable. That's why Franklin and I have a proposition. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. We could help you. A small monthly allowance. Something to allow you to live more comfortably, so Marcus doesn't have to worry. Nothing extravagant, of course. Perhaps $500, $700. We can't work miracles, but it would be a support. She was offering me a bribe. And in exchange, she continued, her voice sweet as syrup, we would only ask you to respect Marcus and Simone's space, not to seek them out so much, not to pressure them, to give them the freedom to build their life together without interference. There it was. The price of my son, $700 a month to disappear. Marcus finally exploded. Mom, that's enough. You don't have to. Marcus, calm down. Veronica interrupted, her voice sharp. We are talking like adults. Your mother understands. All eyes were on me. Veronica's were filled with expectation of a battle won. Franklin's with smug arrogance. Simone's were fixed on her plate, burning with shame. Marcus's were pleading, desperate. I placed my napkin neatly on the table. I took a deliberate sip of water. The timid, shrinking woman at the table seemed to dissolve. When I looked up, my posture was straight. My gaze was clear and direct. And my voice, when I spoke, had lost every trace of its former timidity. It was the voice I used in boardrooms to shut down foolish ideas. That is an interesting offer, Veronica, I said, my tone cool and analytical. Truly, very generous of you. Veronica's smile widened, victorious. But I have a few questions, I continued, just to understand the terms clearly. She blinked, thrown by my sudden shift in demeanor. Of course, ask whatever you like. I leaned forward slightly, my elbows on the table, steepling my fingers. How much, exactly, is this modest allowance? You mentioned $500 to $700. Is that the final number? She hesitated. Well, we were thinking perhaps $700, depending on circumstances. I see, I said, nodding slowly. $700 a month for me to effectively disappear from my son's life. Veronica's smile faltered. I wouldn't put it so crudely, but that is precisely what you are proposing, I interrupted, my voice flat. Let's be as frank as you claim to be. You mentioned you helped with the down payment on their house. How much was that? She drew herself up, proud. $40,000. 40,000, I repeated. And the honeymoon, a 3-week tour of Europe. 15,000. So, you've invested approximately $55,000 in Marcus and Simone's life together. Veronica smiled. When you love your children, you don't hold back. You're absolutely right, I agreed, my voice dangerously soft. When you love your children, you don't hold back. But tell me, Veronica, did that $55,000 buy you their respect? Did it buy you their genuine love? Or did it just buy you a sense of entitlement? The right to control, to manipulate, to offer bribes to their mother. The air at the table crackled. Veronica's face went pale. Franklin sat up straighter, his eyes narrowing. "Excuse me?" Veronica sputtered. "You've spent this entire evening talking about money," I said, my voice rising slightly, cutting through the restaurant's murmur. "The cost of your hotel, your car, your handbag, your steak, your wine, but you haven't asked me a single question about myself. Not how I am, not if I'm happy, not what I enjoy. You have done nothing but calculate my worth. And according to your calculations, I'm worth $700 a month to make me go away." Franklin slammed his hand on the table, making the cutlery jump. "That is enough. You are completely misinterpreting my wife's intentions." "And what were her intentions, Franklin?" I asked, turning my gaze to him. "To treat me with pity, to humiliate me with every condescending comment, to offer me charity so I'd vanish and stop being an embarrassment to your daughter's perfect life." Simone was crying silently. Marcus had his head in his hands. Veronica found her voice, trembling with rage. "How dare you? We were trying to help." "No," I said, my voice dropping to a deadly calm. "You were trying to control. You saw a problema. Poor, simple mother-in-law. You thought you could solve it with your checkbook. The problem is, you severely miscalculated the asset." I leaned back in my chair, the picture of cool composure. "You said you admire women who struggle alone, who are brave. So, let me ask you, Veronica, have you ever truly struggled? Have you ever built something from nothing, with no safety net, no husband's fortune to fall back on? Have you ever had to choose between paying the rent and buying your child a new pair of shoes?" She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. "Let me tell you what struggle looks like," I said, my voice resonating with a power that commanded the entire table's attention. 40 years ago, I was 23. I was a secretary. I earned a pittance. I was pregnant, and the father vanished. My family disowned me. I worked until the day I gave birth. I was back at my desk 2 weeks later, my infant son being watched by a kind neighbor because I couldn't afford to stop. I held Marcus's gaze. He was staring at me, his eyes wide with shock and dawning understanding. "I didn't stay a secretary," I continued, my voice steady and strong. "I studied at night. I taught myself finance, administration, and strategy. I learned not one, but 3 languages. I climbed from secretary to assistant, to manager, to director. It took me 20 years of relentless work, of sacrifice you cannot possibly fathom. And do you know what I am now?" The silence was absolute. You could have heard a pin drop in the opulent room. I am the regional director of operations for Kronos International. I oversee business across 5 countries. I manage a budget of over $300 million. I have 10,000 employees who report up through my chain of command. And my salary, I paused, letting the anticipation build, is $40,000 every month for the past 18 years. The gasp from Simone was audible. Marcus looked like he'd been struck. Franklin's jaw was slack. Veronica stared at me, her face a frozen mask of disbelief and horror. $40,000, I repeated. That's nearly $10 million in gross earnings over my career, not including stock options, not including bonuses, not including the fact that I own this building, a fact your son never knew because I never felt the need to tell him. I looked at Marcus, my expression softening. I didn't tell you because I wanted you to value effort, not inheritance. I wanted you to build your own character, not live off mine. I wanted you to become the good, hardworking man you are, not a trust fund baby waiting for a handout. Then, I turned my icy gaze back to Veronica. And that is why I came here tonight dressed like this. That is why I pretended to be the poor, naive woman you expected. I wanted to see your true colors. And you, Veronica, you were a masterpiece of condescension. You were everything I suspected and more. Chapter 4. The reckoning and the ruin, the aftermath of my revelation was a beautiful, terrible silence. Veronica looked as if she were going to be sick. Franklin was fumbling for his phone, his face a dull red. You lie, Veronica whispered, her voice ragged. If this were true, Marcus would know. We would know. Would you? I asked calmly. Why? Because people with money feel the need to shout it from the rooftops, to wear it on their sleeves like you do. True wealth doesn't need an audience. Veronica, it is quiet. It is secure. It observes. I stood up. The movement was graceful, assured. The woman in the wrinkled dress now moved with the undeniable authority of a CEO. You offered to help me with $700 a month, I said, picking up my faded canvas tote. I reached inside and pulled out a sleek, black credit card made of brushed metal. I dropped it on the table in front of Veronica. It landed with a soft, definitive thud. This is my corporate card. Unlimited limit. Pay for the entire dinner. Be generous with the tip. Consider it a gift from the broke, naive mother you so generously pitied. Veronica stared at the card as if it were a venomous insect. Her hand trembled as she picked it up. She turned it over. Embossed in silver were the words, Elara Sterling, Regional Director, Kronos International. I don't need your money, she spat, her voice trembling with humiliation. I know, I replied coolly, but you offered me your pity, which I needed even less. So, take this as a lesson in basic courtesy, something you clearly failed to learn in all your world travels. Franklin stood up, his chair scraping loudly. This is unconscionable. You deceived us. You came here under false pretenses. I did, I agreed. I came here pretending to be something I'm not. Something you do every single day of your life. You hide behind your wealth, your possessions, your social standing. You present a facade of sophistication to mask the fact that inside, you are hollow. You have nothing to talk about but the price of things. You have no real connection, no genuine curiosity, no empathy. You are, quite simply, boring. I looked at Simone, who was weeping openly now. Simone, you are not your parents. You can choose a different path, one where value isn't measured in dollars, but in character. I then turned to Marcus. I'm leaving now, son. The choice of what happens next is yours. You know who I am, and you now know, without a shadow of a doubt, who they are. I turned and began to walk away. I had almost reached the entrance when I heard a commotion. The waiter was speaking to Franklin, his voice apologetic. I'm sorry, sir, but your card has been declined. Impossible, Franklin blustered. Try it again. A moment later. I'm sorry, sir. This one as well. It was a perfect, poetic disaster. Their financial fortress had a temporary drawbridge failure at the most inopportune moment. I didn't turn back. I simply walked out into the cool night air, the doorman now looking at me with a new, bewildered respect. I didn't call a taxi. I walked, the crisp air filling my lungs, feeling the weight of a decades-long performance finally lifted from my shoulders. I had spoken my truth. I had defended my dignity. I had held up a mirror to ugliness and watched it recoil. The game was over, and I had won not because I had more money, but because I had more self-respect. And that was a currency they could never understand and could never, ever buy. The fallout was immediate and profound. Marcus and Simone had a reckoning of their own that night, setting firm boundaries with her parents. My relationship with my son was reborn, built on a new foundation of shocking truth and profound mutual respect. He saw me not as someone he needed to protect, but as a force of nature he could admire. Simone, freed from the gilded cage of her parents' expectations, began to forge her own identity, often seeking my guidance not as a source of money, but of wisdom. Veronica and Franklin, humiliated and enraged, retreated behind their walls of wealth. The black credit card I left behind became a ghost at their feast, a permanent reminder of the night they tried to buy a woman and found out she owned the store. And I, Ilara Sterling, returned to my simple apartment, my quiet life, and my powerful career. Nothing had changed, and everything had changed. I had learned the most valuable lesson of all, that the richest person in the room is not the one with the most in their bank account, but the one who is free to be exactly who they are. And I was, finally and completely, free. If you like the story, then like my video and subscribe my channel for more life-changing stories. Thanks for watching.